Hello. My name is Literary Haley, and I love to talk about books, specifically romance books where audiobooks are my jam. I don't know about you guys, but when a new month rolls around, I always get really excited for the upcoming romance releases. So here are my 10 most anticipated releases of the month of April. Also, when I say anticipated releases, these are books that have caught my eye and that I'm intrigued by. Not necessarily that I will get to them. I always hope to get to all of these books, of course, but I know that that is definitely not possible. So these are books that are basically on my TBR. As always, I'm sure I've missed a ton of good upcoming romance releases. So what are your most anticipated releases of the month of April? I always like to go in order from the beginning of the month to the end of the month. Starting off with the first release of the month is Across State Lines by Lauren Beale. I've never read anything by this author before. All I know is that she writes really dark, forbidden, like taboo romances that are definitely not everybody's cup of tea. Very unhinged and dark, twisted, what I've picked up from other people who have read this author before. Also, to mention, Lauren Beale is slowly pulling all of her works off of Kindle Unlimited. So the first 3 books in this series are on Kindle Unlimited right now. However, that is changing. They will be taken down and they will go wide. So I'm assuming that this book will also be going wide and not going into Kindle Unlimited, part of the Ride or Die series. And this is book 4. They're all standalones. I don't know if the characters intermix or if it is a true standalone. And as far as an audiobook, I'm not entirely sure, but I do know that the first 3 have an audiobook. So I'm assuming that this one is also going to have an audiobook. I just don't know when that's going to be released. As far as the blurb, chaos, control, and a broken mind, it's all merely an illusion. Kane, I'm an interstate trucker who's left hundreds of bodies behind him. She's a woman who's writing from her past. When she gets to my truck, she unwittingly becomes my next victim. I test her will to live, but the personalities behind mine have a different plan for her. They work to dismantle the fragile equilibrium I've struggled to maintain. As I unravel around her, consumed by conflicting desires, I start to question everything I've ever known or never known. Can I let her into the darkness that has consumed me, or will she become yet another tragic casualty of my damaged psyche? This is depicted as a dark gray hitchhiker romance. Oh, and it also says all books in the series are standalones and can be read in any order. For what to be expected, this is an age gap, enemies to lovers, hate to love, a hero with multiple personalities, primal, one bed trope, degradation, praise, kink, toucher, and many, many more things, which you can find on her website. I recommend checking them out because the list is absolutely insane. I always love to push my boundaries and test my limits, and this definitely sounds like one that I will enjoy. This also kind of reminds me a little bit of Wanderlust by Skye Warren, between a trucker and a girl kind of running away from her life at home. Definitely different scenarios, but I guess the vibes are kind of similar within that aspect, and I really loved Wanderlust, so I'm curious to see how I will vibe with this one. All right, April 9th, we've got 2 bangers coming out. I'm going to talk about probably my most anticipated release of the month, which is Wild Love by Elsie Silver. I love Elsie Silver's writing. I devoured the Chestnut series. I cannot wait for her Gold Ranch series. I'm going to be feral when that one hits audios. So Wild Love is book 1 in a brand new series, which is the Rose Hill series. So this is book 1. It will be on Kindle Unlimited, and there is an audio. It's already up for pre-order. So excited. The blurb in this one is, she's been driving him wild for years. The good kind of wild, the bad kind of wild, but mostly the kind of wild that comes with wanting your best friend's little sister and knowing you can't have her. Forbes may have labeled Ford Grant the world's hottest billionaire, but all he cares about is escaping the press and opening a recording studio in gorgeous small town Rose Hill, something that comes to a screeching halt when he ends up face to face with a young girl who's claimed her biological father. Now he spends his days balancing business with parenting a sultan 12-year-old, all while trying desperately to keep his hands the hell off his best friend's sister, Rosie Belmont. After living in the city, Rosie came blasting back into town like a storm, beautiful, messy, and chaotic. And one wide-eyed, desperate plea for a job is all it takes for Ford to hire her. He vows to keep her at arm's length, tries to stick to scowls and grumpy one-liners, but with her Verbal sparring is a type of foreplay, friction that soon turns into blistering heat. Ford knows damn well he shouldn't cross this line, but shouldn't and can't are two different things. And the only thing he truly can't do is resist her. Yeah, so I'm really excited for this one. What to expect? We've got forced proximity, small town, brother's best friend, single dad, billionaire, secret pining with he falls first, and a frenemies to lovers kind of vibe. They've known each other since childhood, and all the banter. Continuing with a release that's coming out on April 9th is Older by Jennifer Hartman. This one is going to be very taboo. This one is like very for the forbidden lovers. The blurb in this one is, before he discovered my age, he uncovered my heart. Bruised and abused and a victim to a loveless household, I shimmered with new life the moment he found me, drowning in my sorrows in a lake beneath the stars. A chance encounter, an unspoken connection. I was smitten. He was curious. But, as everyone knew, fate could be decidedly cruel. He called me Haley, like the comet. I called him Reed. And my best friend, well, she called him Dad. Oh. So Older is a forbidden, slow burn, age gap romance, standalone with an HEA. I don't know if there's going to be more books in this series. I'm not sure if this is going to have an audio. I'm sure it will. It is available on Kindle Unlimited. This one's going to be insane. Apparently, this is like a single dad moment for me this month. And I'm here for it, honestly. Switching it up a little bit from more like contemporary, we've got a fantasy anticipated release, which is The Hemlock Queen by Hannah Whitten. This is book 2 in the Nightshade Crown series. I think it's actually a duology or a duet, whatever you want to say. I have not read book 1, so I really don't want to read the blurb on this one, and I haven't read it as of yet, just because I don't want any like potential spoilers from book 1. However, I do have some like things to expect within this. Now, as far as this being on Kindle Unlimited, it is not, but there is an audio available, which, you know, we love around here. Things to expect: prophecies, spies, this is a dark fantasy, trauma, complicated romance dynamic, ballroom scenes, gods behaving badly, and consequences. Those consequences are probably what happened within book 1, which I haven't read. So I don't know, and I don't want to spoil anything for myself. That's all I'm going to talk about The Hemlock Queen. I forgot to mention it comes out on April 10th. Stay by Willow Astor, which is set to be released on April 11th, is book 5 in the Landmark Mountain series. I've never read Willow Astor before, so I obviously haven't read the first 4 books in this series, but these are all small town romances, which sound right up my alley. I love the covers. This is going to be on Kindle Unlimited. I'm not sure if there's going to be an audiobook. My guess would be yes, there is going to be one, since the previous 4 books in the series have an audiobook. So the blurb in this one is, when a judge falls for his younger nanny, can their love overcome the possibility of scandal? As I drive into the picturesque small town of Landmark Mountain after a whirlwind of college, I never expected a simple job opportunity would lead me to a deliciously sexy Sutton Landmark. But fate, it seems, wants to send my plans sideways. Judge Sutton Landmark, a man whose gorgeous face, charisma, and chocolate brown eyes could charm the pants off of anyone. He needs a nanny for his son, Owen, and I need a break from the textbooks and exams, and some time to figure out what I really want to do with my life. However, one heated look from Sutton and everything inside me ignites. As I spend time with Sutton, I find myself falling for him. There's a spark between us and a connection that simmers and dances in the air whenever we're in the same room. But Sutton's prestigious position and the age gap between us casts a looming shadow over our happiness despite our heart's desires. Fear and indecision hold us back from taking that leap of faith. I want to believe that despite the obstacles, anything is possible, even love against all odds. I guess I'll just have to jump in head first and stay to find out. Y'all, that's going to be intense. So this is age gap, single father, nanny, small town romance. Looks good. Sounds good. Can't wait to read. Moving along, we have a debut novel, which is set to be released April 17th. This is When I Look at You by Maya Ariel. This is not going to be on Kindle Unlimited, but there is an audio available. And the blurb in this one, Kalia Wilson has paid her dues, but all the years behind the reception desk at a flashy film studio have only pushed her movie-making dreams further out of reach. That is, until a surprise reunion presents an opportunity that could make her career or break her heart a second time. It's been 7 years since Kalia's whirlwind college romance with Danny Prescott went up in flames. While her passions have stalled, his career is taking off. So when the hotshot director reappears to offer her a job on his next production, it's a shock to the system. Working with Danny may recapture the intensity of their film school days, but trusting him again won't come as easy. As the pair allows themselves the openness and vulnerability to entrust their deepest truths to each other, the possibility of a true connection draws even closer. But when Hollywood politics and scandal threaten to sink their production and her career, Clea may have to risk everything to do what's right, even if it means letting go of the second chance of love of a lifetime. I love second chance romances, so I cannot wait to jump into this one. Of course, it's a debut novel, second chance romance, workplace, so a Hollywood with a director and filmmaker, everything which is right in my alley, and something that I've never read about before. Up next is Learn Your Lessons by Candy Steiner. This is set to release on April 19th. This is actually one where I've read the previous 2 books in this series. So this is book 3 in the Kings of Ice series, and I really enjoyed the first 2 books in the series, so I cannot read this one. And guess what? This is also another single dad, so like I said, this is the month of single dads. Well, this is a series of interconnected standalones, and you can read them separately. Like, they don't need to be read in order, but you just see glimpses of the characters from the previous 2 books. The blurb in this one is, my mother only wanted me to learn one lesson growing up. Men are trash. Her father left her, and then my father left us. Being raised by her and my grandmother, I was surrounded by a reminder to be independent and guard my heart. After my one and only experience with a boy in college fell flatter than a pancake, I realized they were right. And I was content to live the life of a 26-year-old cat lady until Will Perry blew my quiet world to smithereens. Starting goalie for the Tampa Bay Ospreys and the kind of hot that scrambles your brain, all I was ever supposed to be to him was his daughter's kindergarten teacher. Then, in a twist of events, his temporary nanny. But temporary turns out to be permanent. And when I move into his pool house, everything changes. He's impossibly grumpy and focused on only 2 things, hockey and taking care of his daughter. And I'm only focused on using this new income to pay back my student loans. But in this house, I feel his heated gaze beneath that permanent scowl, the way it lingers and warms my skin. And though I know my mother would lose her mind if she knew, my dreams have become midnight fantasies about my long-haired, muscle-lined mystery of a boss. When the tension becomes too much, we break and we make a deal. He still needs a nanny, I still need a paycheck, and for my matriarchy to not disown me. But Will agrees to teach me everything I've always wanted to learn, and I'm all too eager to be a student. I can do this. I'm a grown woman. I can explore my sexuality with the hottest goalie on earth and still remain 100% professional. And I can definitely do it all without catching feelings. I have to. Otherwise, I'll end up heartbroken in my mother's arms while she shakes her head and asks me if I'll ever learn my lesson. What to expect within this one is a pro hockey romance, single dad nanny, forced proximity, spicy lessons, grumpy sunshine, age gap, opposites attract, and found family. Yeah, and I think I forgot to mention that this one's going to be on Kindle Limited, and there's not an audiobook up as of yet. However, I'm sure there will be one because the previous books in the series all have an audio. Then we have a brand new series from Jessa Wilder, The Tempting Arrangement, which is set to be released on April 23rd. And as far as if this is going to be on Kindle Unlimited or if it's going to have an audiobook, I'm not entirely sure. I think all of Jessa's work is on Kindle Unlimited, so I would assume that this one's also going to be on Kindle Unlimited, but we shall see. And like I said, this is book 1 in a brand new series, which is going to be the Twisted Vows series. The blurb being, marry or lose his inheritance. This is the ultimatum billionaire Damon Everett faces. There's one problem. The woman he craves is his sunshine PR rep who wants nothing to do with him. Ruthless, arrogant, cold-hearted are some of the words I would use to describe my asshole of a boss, Damon Everett. That doesn't stop the goosebumps from rising along my neck every time he says my name, or the way my pulse races when his stormy gray eyes pierce into mine. So, when he coerces me into a fake marriage to uphold his family's tradition, I can't resist pushing his buttons. He's a walking red flag, and I should run the second this arrangement ends. But the very thought of losing him is suffocating, a dangerous addiction that I can't seem to break. Is this really love, or just a twisted desire to own me? And deep down, do I secretly crave to be possessed by him? So, A Tempting Arrangement is a red flag billionaire marriage of convenience standalone romance. Also with office romance, one bad trope, heroine in danger, I've never read a Jessa Wilder book before. They always intrigue me, and I always keep meaning to end up reading one. And with this being a brand new series, I feel like I could definitely stumble into this one. Burnout by Rebecca Ginshark, which is set to release on April 25th. This is supposed to be on Kindle Unlimited, and I'm sure there will be an audiobook, but it doesn't say as of yet. This is book 1 in a brand new series, which the series name has not been released yet. But this one caught my eye because it's about two things that I rarely see in romances, which is a motocross romance and a gymnast. I'm sure they're out there. Matter of fact, I know a few gymnast romances that I have not read yet, but I don't think I've ever seen a motocross one before. I have read a Rebecca Ginshark book before, and it was a golf romance. I can't remember the title of it, but that one, I had a good time. It was very fast paced and gave me everything that I needed. I'm sure this will do the same. So the blurb on this one is, he's the hot tattooed bad boy that I traded insults with, and now he wants my help. Knox Holland is in a jam. After an incredible first year on the pro motocross circuit, he should be on top of the world. Instead, his bad reputation has landed him without a team. He's untouchable and desperate to turn it around, which is how he ends up at my gym asking me to train him. As a college gymnast with 2 Olympic medals to my name, I know a thing or two about the pressure to succeed. Last season, I choked and then injured myself before I could show the world that I'm not a 27-year-old has-been. Focused on the future, I can't afford to get distracted, but I recognize the desperation in Knox's eyes, and I can't say no to him either. It should have been an easy task, but nothing about Knox is easy. 1 minute we're arguing, and the next I'm enjoying his shirtless handstands a little too much. Falling for him would be a mistake. ... What to expect in this one is sports, of course, motocross, athlete, of course, gymnast, bad boy, good girl, opposites attract, and band of brothers. And the last book of my anticipated romance releases is King of Sloth by Anna Huang. This is set to be released on April 30th. It is book 4 in the Kings of Sin series. I believe it will be on Kindle Limited, and I'm sure an audiobook will follow soon after. It's just not uploaded or updated as of yet. I had a goal to start reading this series. I mean, I've got it all set to go, which it just never ended up happening. But that's okay. Maybe I will end up getting into it this month. Who knows? But the blurb on this one says, he'd never wanted anyone enough to chase him until he met her. Charming, easygoing, and rich beyond belief, Xavier Castillo has the world at his fingertips. He also has no interest in taking over his family's empire, much to his father's chagrin. But that hasn't stopped the women from throwing themselves at him, unless the woman in question is his publicist. Nothing perhaps brings him more joy than riling her up, but when a tragedy forces him closer than ever, he must grapple with the uncertainty of his future and the realization that the only person immune to his charms is the one he truly wants. Cool, intelligent, and ambitious Sloane Kensington is a high-powered publicist who's used to dealing with difficult clients. However, none infuriate her or tempt her more than a certain billionaire heir. With his stupid dimples and laid-back attitude, she may be forced to work with him, but she'll never fall for him, no matter how fast he makes her heart beat or how thoughtful he is beneath the party persona. He's her client, and that's all he'll ever be, right? So, billionaire, forced proximity, grumpy sunshine, he falls first. I will try to get to that one by the end of April, but we'll see. And those are my 10 most anticipated romance releases of the month of April. Like I said, I know there are many, many others that I know I've missed. And drop your most anticipated romance release of the month of April. But that is all I have for today. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you guys next time. Bye for now.